Yo, YouTube, what's up with your boy? Sports and Fitness Rants. I'm back, guys. Click that like button. Subscribe to my channel. What's up, y'all? Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, man. Got another great video for you guys today. As usual, man, you guys know the deal on this channel. It's all about setting the record straight, stopping the lies, stopping the narratives, stopping them from rewriting history, guys, and holding a standard. And in this video, man, I want to talk about a forgotten player from the 80s and the 90s. I want to talk about Larry Nance in this video, man. The high-flying, shot-blocking power forward from the 80s and the 90s, man. The golden era of NBA. You know, Larry Nance, man. I wanted to do a video on him, and I meant to do this video several weeks ago. But, you know, there's so many things going on. And like I said, there's only so much time in a day. And this is not my full-time job. You know, sometimes, you know, I think people act or think that this is like the only thing that I do all day. And, you know, people will try to criticize me for making, not giving or being more diverse with my videos. But like I've said, I've had many videos in my playlists. I've done many different kinds of videos about different kinds of topics. Like I said, I have almost over 1,000 fitness and health videos. I do a lot of different things. Once again, there's almost only certain time in the day, so much time in the day. And once again, it's not my full-time job. I have a family, kids, a wife, a job, you know, there's things going on, right? You guys know the deal, man. So I want to talk about Larry Nance. Like I said, I've been wanting to talk about him. And just like I said, break down his career and give you guys an idea of Larry Nance, the player, in this video, man. And I want to thank you guys, everyone across the world, everyone across the states has been supporting my channel. Once again, guys, I am truly humbled by all the support, man. It really means a lot. So shout out to everybody in the membership, everyone who has, like I said, donated to my channel. It truly means a lot. Shout out to my man, Vernon Lee Warren, for sending super thanks. I saw your message, man. Thank you very much. You guys know I try to respond to you guys, and if you guys request videos from me, I try to get these videos out there. And like I said, I try to, do this for you guys. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than I hope, man. So just bear with me, hang in there with me, guys. And like I said, I really appreciate you guys rolling with me, man. And you guys know what to do. Turn the volume all the way up. Hit that play button. Remember, these videos are for educational purposes. And let's roll. So, yes, guys, like I said, man, I wanted to do a video and talk about Larry Nance. Now, Larry Nance, or when I use the word, say Larry Nance's name, some of you younger guys out there might think I'm talking about Larry Nance Jr., right? I'm not talking about Larry Nance Jr. I'm talking about Larry Nance Sr. Larry Nance Jr. is nowhere, he's a solid player, Larry Nance Jr. There's no knock on his son. But Larry Nance Jr. is nowhere on the level of Larry Nance Sr. Larry Nance Sr. is one of those guys where he was a, fringe all-star. One of those guys where I believe he made 3 all-star selections in his career, but he was always one of those guys on the verge of an all-star team. So, yeah, he only made 3 in his career, but, he was on the verge of probably making 6 or 7 all-star games in his career. He was one of those kind of guys, a fringe all-star player, every single season, essentially. Like I said, Larry Nance, the high-flying shot blocker at that power forward position, man. I was recently watching the 1989, what was I watching? The 1992 Eastern Conference Finals with the Chicago Bulls versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that was pretty much what inspired me to do this video on Larry Nance, because as I was watching the series, I remember watching it, like I said, live, when I was a kid, and I'm rewatching the series. I can't remember which game it was, maybe it was game 3, the first game in Cleveland. I can't remember, but you remember the Bulls won that series 4-2. And the Cleveland Cavaliers were a very formidable team, guys. They had good players from top to bottom. And, we've talked about the 1989 series against the Chicago Bulls and how the Cleveland Cavaliers were the clear-cut favorite to beat the Chicago Bulls that series. They just had the overall better team. They was overall a better team. They had better players, top to bottom, right? So everyone was picking them to win. That was part of the reason why Michael Jordan was so hyped after he hit that game winner, right? Because everyone was basically saying the Bulls were going to get swept by the Cavs. They had no business even being in a series with this team or beating them. And that's why that was the emotions for Michael Jordan after that game winner. But when you think about the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm watching the 1992 series. Once again, this was a build-up. Like I said, in 1989, they played against the Chicago Bulls in the first round. 1988, they played against Chicago Bulls in the first round. And both of those series, the Cleveland Cavaliers were favorites, and they lost both of those years to the Chicago Bulls. And Michael Jordan averaged like 40-some points a game in both of those series. He went off, right? Just carrying the Bulls offensively. There was none of the Cavs could do, even though they had guys on that team like Ron Harper and Craig Elo, right? They had guys to try and play defense against Michael Jordan, it just wasn't enough. Even though you had guys like Larry Nance down low to challenge Michael Jordan. And that's one of the things that I remembered about Larry Nance, watching these games and thinking about him. Remember, I don't remember these guys because of the stats they put up. I couldn't tell you what Larry Nance did statistically, but in my mind, if I thought about Larry Nance, I would say that Larry Nance probably averaged somewhere around 18, 19, 20 points at his peak. That was what Larry Nance was going to give you, about 18 to 20 points a game. He was going to give you somewhere between 8 to 10 rebounds a game. That's where he was going to be. He wasn't an elite rebounder at that position. He wasn't Dennis Rodman at rebounding. He wasn't Kevin Garnett rebounding the basketball. He wasn't a Karl Malone rebounding the basketball at that position. But he was a very solid rebounder, very good rebounder. Not a great or elite, but he was very good at rebounding the basketball. So he would probably give you 18 to 20 points. Like I said, 8 to 10 rebounds, somewhere around there. Maybe 1 or 2 assists. Wasn't much of a playmaker at that powerful position. Once again, these guys were not asked to do these kinds of things. But where he really separated himself from a lot of the other power forwards in the NBA's history is on the defensive end and shot blocking wise more specifically. To me, like I said, from what I can think of, Larry Nance might be the greatest shot blocking power forward in the history of the game. In the history of the game, guys. Now, once again, I'm not saying that Larry Nance is the greatest defensive power forward. He's nowhere on that level. He's not on the level of a Dennis Rodman, for example, who would probably be considered the greatest defensive power forward. Dennis Rodman's recognized as arguably the greatest defender of all time, regardless of position. To me, he's the most versatile defender in the history of the game. I don't even think that's a question. But Larry Nance is not a defender like a Dennis Rodman or a Bobby Jones, let's say, for example, from the power forward position. Was he as stout, or great defensively as a Karl Malone? I don't know about that. But when we talk about shot blocking and your defensive ability, the shot blocking, the things that you can do, Larry Nance, like I said, was a high flyer, but he used his high flying ability to contest shots. And that's what I remember about him. There were so many times that, Michael Jordan went to the basket, or any of these wing players, these perimeter guys, the high flyers, they would, go to the basket and they would challenge the big men down low. And when we say that they challenge these guys, it's because the big men back in the days, the power forwards, the centers, the guys that would be, down low in the paint waiting for you, these guys usually, more often than not, were going to challenge you at the rim. They were going to attempt to block your shot. That's what they were going to do. They were going to be aggressive, and they were going to go up there and try to meet you at that rim, either to block the shot or to knock you on your butt to make you think about coming in there again. Now, to me, when I think about Larry Nance, that was Larry Nance, man. He's going to go up there, not to punish you, but he's going to go up there to try to throw your shot away, to block your shot. He's going to be a rim protector. He's going to be a guy that's going to be there. If Larry Nance is down there in the paint, and you come in the hole to dunk it or lay it up, Larry Nance is going to challenge you. That's why so many of these guys were on posters back in the day. That's why, guys like Alonzo Mourning and Patrick Ewing, they were getting posterized by some of the great wing players, some of the great high flyers of that era, because they didn't move out of the way when you came down low. They didn't shield themselves. They didn't run away from the paint. They didn't turn their back away. They literally rose up and attempted to challenge you, to block your shot. To block your shot, man. I mean, that's why we respected those guys. It wasn't like, oh, look at Michael Jordan putting Alonzo Mourning on a poster because he was nobody. No, Alonzo Mourning got put on a poster because he was willing to go in there and attempt to block the shot, attempt to block these dunks. Some of them you might get, right? And some of them you won't get. A lot of those guys were elite shot blockers. So to be an elite shot blocker, you're going to get dunked on sometimes. And sometimes you're going to block shots, right? But these guys were relentless. They didn't stop. That's what they did. They challenged you. That's what Larry Nance did. This man challenged everything. Anytime I seen someone go into the paint against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the early 90s or the Phoenix Suns in the mid to late 80s, this guy was going to attempt to block your shot. He was going to go up there. A lot of times when we think about Larry Nance, people automatically think about the slam dunk contest. Remember, Larry Nance won the inaugural, the initial slam dunk contest in the NBA, the NBA slam dunk contest, not the ABA slam dunk contest. He won the first NBA slam dunk contest. Larry Nance, you guys remember, he did that dunk, right, when he kind of did like the Dr. J, right, where you kind of like rock the cradle, you cup the ball, and you throw it down. Larry Nance, if you look at the dunk, when you freeze frame it, it looks like he's standing in the air. right? You guys have seen that freeze frame. It looks like he's standing in the air with his head right next to the rim, right? This is Larry Nance. This is what we talk about, the beauty, the creativity of some of these guys, the aesthetics of them when they're dunking the basketball, right? People don't mention Larry Nance with the great dunkers in NBA's history. You know, we mention guys like Sean Kemp and Dominique Wilkins and Dr. J and Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Like, we mentioned some of those guys. Like, these are the elite dunkers, the high flyers, the Vince Carters, the Tracy McGrady's. You know, some of these guys that would come through the lane and just do things. Clyde Drexler. But Larry Nance was a high flyer, man. Larry Nance could dunk the basketball, man. And he had some creativity to his game. Like I said, not just in the slam dunk contest, but in-game dunking Larry Nance. So for me, when I think about Larry Nance, this is what I think about. A guy who's going to attempt to block your shot. He's going to challenge you at the rim. He's going to be an aggressive shot blocker. Which, like I told you, me, if you look at some of his numbers, the man's averaging 3 blocks per game in some of these seasons. He's probably on Larry Nance at his peak, at his best. Like I told you, give you about 18 to 20 points, 8 to 10 rebounds, maybe 1 or 2 assists. He's going to average about 2.5, 3 blocks a game, this man. That's what he's going to give you out there at 6'10", at that power forward position, man. He's going to be an intimidator out there, a true rim protector. So when you think about the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you had guys like Ron Harper, you had guys like Craig Elo on that team, right? You had some of these guys that were trying to keep Michael Jordan, right, on the perimeter, right? Or what would they do? Force Michael Jordan into the lane, into the help of a guy like a Larry Nance or a big body like a Brad Daugherty, right? That's what you wanted a lot of these guys to do. Force them in the lane to the shot blockers, right? Or force them in the lane to get pummeled by some of the big men down low. So once again, shout out to Larry Nance. Like I said, a forgotten player from the golden era. Larry Nance, like I told you, is a fringe all-star player. One of those guys where the way they keep lowering the standard for the basketball's Hall of Fame, pretty soon, you might need to include someone like a Larry Nance. You might need to include someone like Tom Chambers. Like some of these guys that played. I tell you, I don't know how Kevin Johnson's not in the Hall of Fame. I don't know how that is. But when we think about Larry Nance, he played for the Phoenix Suns for, I believe, 6 or 7 seasons. Then he was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that was a big pickup for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe it was the 88 season that they traded for Larry Nance. The 87-88 season, they traded for Larry Nance. And I believe they traded Kevin Johnson to the Phoenix Suns. If you guys remember, they had Mark Price and Kevin Johnson on the Cleveland Cavaliers as like rookies. And they ended up trading Kevin Johnson to the Phoenix Suns. And we all know the rest is history. Kevin Johnson, to me, one of the great players in the 90s, should have easily been a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. How he's not in, I don't know. And we all know Mark Price would have been a first ballot Hall of Famer if not for the injuries that really derailed his career after that 92 season. So to me, when we think about Larry Nance, like I said, going from Phoenix and then playing on the Cleveland Cavaliers, his peak was probably from his second season where he became a full-time starter his second year, played all 82 games. I believe he played 80 or more games, 4 or 5 separate occasions. But he played, I believe, 7 years or 6 years or 6.5 years for the Suns and 6.5 years for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And on both teams, like I said, he was a major contributor. And like I said, a key member of those teams. The Phoenix Suns team that I believe, I'm trying to remember, was it 1988? I don't know. I can't remember what year it was. But the Phoenix Suns team was actually pretty good. When you had Larry Nance, Tom Chambers was on that team. I want to say Jeff Hornacek was on that team. Maybe guys like Mark West. But they were a pretty decent team, the Phoenix Suns, in the Western Conference. Never won anything, but they were just a fun team to watch. And like I said, when Larry Nance came to the Cleveland Cavaliers, he made a big impact on that team. Because like I said, now you had a down low defender. A guy that could challenge the shots at the rim, could block shots, could be that presence, because they didn't really have that presence. Brad Daugherty was never a shot blocker or an intimidator. He was just a big body down there, right? John Hot Rod Williams was never an intimidator, a shot blocker down there. He was that body, right? Some of these other guys that were on that team, they weren't necessarily known for being great defenders down low or shot blockers, right? The defenders on their team were perimeter guys like Craig Elo and Ron Harper. So Larry Nance coming to the Cleveland Cavaliers, like I said, the 1988 season, he immediately had an impact. Like I said, in 1989, they were the favorite. They were supposed to be the up-and-coming team after the Detroit Pistons. A lot of people were saying it was going to be the Pistons, then the Cavaliers, right? Then maybe the New York Knicks, then maybe the Chicago Bulls, right? The Bulls had Michael Jordan, but they didn't really seem to have anything else. And the other teams had players. Like I said, Patrick Ewing had Mark Jackson, who was fresh off of a Rookie of the Year in 1988. He had him in 1989 when the Bulls faced him in the second round. right? You had players like Gerald Wilkins and some of these other guys, Kiki Vandeweghe, right? Kenny Skywalker. You had guys on the team, guys who played roles. The Cleveland Cavaliers had guys like Mark Price and Ron Harper, Craig Elo, Brad Daugherty, Larry Nance. Like they were coached by Lenny Wilkins. So you had a very formidable team there. So once again, Larry Nance having that impact, being that guy down low, that presence that they were looking for. And like I said, the Cleveland Cavaliers found themselves in the Eastern Conference Finals in 1992 against the Chicago Bulls. And they lost 4-2 in a really good series, man. It was a good series. Like I said, the Cleveland Cavaliers just could never do it. And then the next season, they faced the Bulls in the 1993 Eastern Conference semifinal. Once again, the Bulls would prevail. Michael Jordan destroying the Jordan stopper, Joe Wilkins, in that series. But shout out to Larry Nance again, another forgotten player from the golden era, a guy that if he played today, I mean, he would dominate the glass today, dominate it. And people talk about, Victor Wembanyama is averaging, 4 blocks a game or whatever he averages, and everyone's impressed with his block numbers at 7'4" in this weak short era. Larry Nance at 6'10" would have been blocking more shots than Victor Wembanyama. He was more aggressive. He was just nastier, Larry Nance. He was just tougher. You ever see Larry Nance's face out there on the court? Larry Nance always had that scowl on his face. Like he wanted to go out there and do something to somebody. That's how a lot of those guys look when they play the game. They had the scowl of competitiveness on. Not the look of a, goofy, affable kid. Like these guys look like today. Larry Nance was a true competitor out there, man. Like I said, man, one of those guys that was a fringe all-star. I believe his career high in rebounds is 21. I believe he's scored over 40 points in a game. He may have a couple of triple-doubles in his career, Larry Nance. But like I said, man, to me, high-flying shot blocker. That's what I think about when I think of Larry Nance. He had a very good mid-range game. He was really good around the rim. He was always one of the top guys in field goal percentage. That was Larry Nance, man. Just really good skills around the rim. Like I said, he had those hands. He could, manipulate the basketball in the air when he goes up for shots. And like I said, he was an intimidator in there, man. Never afraid to, put his nose, in the stuff, so to speak, in the scrum. So shout out to Larry Nance, man. I just wanted to do a video and talk about him because, like I said, I was watching those Cleveland Cavaliers versus Bulls series, and I always liked Larry Nance. I always just liked him. Like I said, I liked a lot of those guys back in the day because I respected them. Like I said, I don't know Larry Nance's numbers. I really couldn't tell you a lot of this stuff because that's not how I know these guys. I know Larry Nance based over what I watched him do. So when I'm telling you he was a high-flying shot blocker, those are the facts. It ain't got to do with the numbers. Yes, he has the shot blocking numbers to support what I'm saying. But I'm telling you right now, if you watch him play, you'll see what I'm saying. The man literally tried to block almost everything that came in the paint. If he was there, he was going to try to block it. That's why a lot of these dunks you see, these plays against the Cleveland Cavaliers that Michael Jordan had, he's dunking on Larry Nance. Larry Nance is there in the screen getting dunked on by Michael Jordan because he was attempting to block Michael Jordan. He was attempting to go up there, like I said, and challenge you. So shout out to Larry Nance. Like I said, he was a very good player. In this era, he would be sensational on the defensive end. Like I said, probably the best shot blocking power forward in the history of the game. You can argue that. I'm telling you, he's up there, guys. The man was blocking shots like a center. And like I said, we all know he was dunking the ball. He was dunking on fools. And like I said, he was a solid mid-range jump shot, solid free throw shooter, very good ball skills around the rim, man. Had good hands. Shout out to Larry Nance, man. A true professional, of the golden era of NBA, man. You guys know the deal. I'll catch you guys on the next one.